Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Starknet Espresso. Today, we have a very inspiring guest in our midst, Mayowa. Mayowa is a developer in the Starknet ecosystem, and he's going to be sharing his unique journey into the ecosystem, the projects that he's working on, and how he's generally changing his world through Starknet. And it's such a pleasure to have him here with us today. Mayowa, thank you very much for joining us on Starknet Espresso today. It's such an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. The honor is mine.
Yeah. Why don't you start by, introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit on how you go into Starknet ecosystem.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Mayowa Obisheson. I'm a software engineer with a background in Web2 before I transitioned into Web3 in 2023. And prior to that time, I was working as a backend dev, or let me say as a full stack developer, then transitioning to Web3. I started as a blockchain developer, then gradually transitioned also into like working with front end also due to like more should I say requirements there or more gigs there. And then I had more opportunities on that side. So then I had to just transition a bit there. So from there, I just working with different blockchains, started with Ethereum at Web3 Bridge, learning
Yeah,
for the yeah. So after doing that for a while, then after the cohort, and then after learning, after trying to build, after building, after showing your
yeah,
skills and all of those things. So then I started with just deciding to just explore the ecosystem, not just Ethereum ecosystem now. So while trying to explore, that was early this year, 2024. There, people will tell you about Starknet. But then since last year, actually, I kind of like got introduced to Starknet. That was late last year around November. That was my first introduction to Starknet or what it was. Then it was just layer two, the trading layer two is Starknet. And we were like, okay, what is this Starknet? So then I did a bit of like research on it. Then there was this application for what was the name again? That's an internship on Starknet. I think I applied. I can't
yeah,
remember the name. I applied then. That was late November. I did the interview process. Though I didn't get in, but then yeah, Lambda class. Yes, that's for
yeah,
Lambda class. Know more about Starknet. So I did the interview, though I didn't get in, but then it was interesting to know what Starknet was all about. That was my first
yeah,
occurrence. So then this year again, that was early February, I think February, March. Then I started hearing a lot of buzz about Starknet again, especially after this airdrop, right?
yeah,
That was when it was just came again. Everybody was talking about Starknet.
yeah,
Yeah, so but then I didn't really do much about Starknet until I started contributing on Holy Dust. That was my like first contribution to Starknet. And so because most of my contributions on Holy Dust have been to the Starknet ecosystem. So my contribution to Starknet started with like open source contribution, Holy Dust contributions. Yeah. So that was my like actual development experience with Starknet. And from there, like I've been building, doing other things, going for conferences, speaking at Starknet conferences also. But overall, it has been interesting, basically.
Oh, wow. You've spoken at Starknet conferences.
Yes, Starknet Africa conference this year. That was in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our layout is scaling Ethereum basically. So I just did a bit of like, as part of the panel, I think it was
Mm.
myself, Kelvin, and two other speakers then that we spoke about Starknet. Yeah.
Oh,
Starknet and
great,
layout.
great.
Yeah.
What's fascinating for me is because we just started Starknet one would say, we even say a couple of months back, and you've
Yeah.
gained so much, what would you say, so much stand in the ecosystem that you talk about the ecosystem in events now. One of the things I think it was Faith, there's a developer, Faith, she came on the show and she talked so much about the, barrier of entry into Starknet being low, and which is a good thing for, people that are coming, and you're a good example of that. What would you say has attracted you and kept you in Starknet and doing the things you're doing on Starknet now?
Okay, so I think the community, number one, I think the
Oh, wow.
community of Starknet I would say, is one of the most compelling communities out there. I think I have to say that, like,
Yeah,
because like I said, before the airdrop, before this year airdrop, like last year when I heard about it, it was more of a buzz. Well, everybody was talking about Starknet, Starknet, Starknet. I needed to know what it was. All right. So the community does a lot of pushing, especially the Africa community. Let's be honest. Like there are a lot of guys there that they will make you want to just know what this Starknet is all about. So I think for me, that was the first thing. That was the first, like, okay, let me go and try this Starknet out for me.
Yeah.
Even after hearing so much about it, reading about it, like trying to understand what makes them different from Ethereum and other layer twos, right? And then coming to understand that they work with these ZKPs, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. So, but then aside from the technicality, the community itself, the way they carry the ecosystem, the way they want you to know about the ecosystem is actually incredible. Like I think Starknet has one of the best communities out there. Let's be honest. Like I've
Sure.
interacted with a lot of blockchains, but when it comes to Starknet, like look at this now, Starknet Espresso also. This is one of the ways
Yeah.
by which you are telling people about Starknet, making people aware that Starknet is doing this or doing that. And Starknet himself, like in terms of the protocol, they do a lot of like amazing things. You are just surprised about, is this even possible? Right? And they do it and they make you love what they do. I think that's for me. So the community itself is just so organized in such a way that you just love the structure in place. So I think that's for me. That was what made it easy for me to just jump in. There are a lot of places you can just get in and just get familiar.
I think a lot of people that have been on the show has echoed the same sentiment as you.
Yeah.
They love it's a family kind of, it's a very laid back, relaxed kind of ecosystem where everybody is recognized for, for the little things
Yeah.
that they do. Yeah, so I think it's a sentiment that cuts across every person that I've invited in the show. Which leads me to the next question. What have you been doing? How have you been busy on Starknet? What exactly are we looking at? Are there projects you've been working on?
Okay, so yes. So like I said, I started with like contributions on Holy Dust, and so far, I think all my contributions on Holy Dust has been on Starknet project so far.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so it has been that interesting. And but the major project, I think the best project I've built so far, or let me say the biggest project I've built on Starknet,
Yeah.
aside from trying out projects, going to understand how this works, contributing to other little projects, building a game on Starknet has been like the biggest project I've worked on. So I was working on that project with I've been working with the project with Faith. I think you made
Oh,
mention
okay.
about that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we started working on the project. Is a puzzle game, a jigsaw puzzle game on
Oh,
Starknet. So we are
yeah.
using Dojo. Yeah, so we're using Dojo and React, yes, like to build it. So we built something. In fact, it was an hackathon early this month.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice.
already have that. Yeah. So it's one of the most promising projects I've built on Starknet. And it's the
Yeah.
biggest project past Starknet.
Funny thing, I think before, while you guys were starting out the project, Faith was on the show and she talked about the jigsaw. And I told her then, I said, I'd like to follow the progress on this game. Where's the game
Yeah.
at now? Is it something that is playable now on Starknet
So
for everybody?
no, it's not like released yet. We are still working on it. There are still some little
Yeah.
kinks we are still like making changes to and provisions on. But then it's very interesting because you can play the game now, even though we are not done with it. You can actually start the game and then finish the game. Like the whole flow from start to finish works. So
Yeah.
there are different,
Okay.
yeah, there are different games you can play. Like you can have different puzzles, right? So just like a normal jigsaw puzzle, there are different puzzles with different difficulties that you can actually play. So we've done a lot of those prototype that you can actually play it, and we demo that also. But then we are still working to make it much more production ready. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
still yeah, but it's making sense.
So for someone that wants to play the game now, how do they get across to it?
And so, like I said, we've not released the game yet, so it's still
Oh,
in development.
okay.
But
Okay.
when
When
it
it's
is
like,
released, like you guys will see the buzz everywhere because it's actually very promising even for we building it because we feel like, wow, this has a lot of potential, right?
yeah.
And so when we just started, okay, let's see if it's possible. And then we started building it. We did a bit of in-house demo. It worked. Then it's okay, fine. Let's now extend it. So we tried it to see if it's going to be acceptable. So applying for the hackathon, and then it won the game track. I think came second in the game track, and it was fun. Like, oh wow, we are still building, and then it's still even gaining this much traction. So we are still working on it, like I said. So it's not released yet,
Oh,
but then it will be
yeah.
very soon. You guys will hear it
Great.
definitely.
I'm sure I'll be. I've been very much been keeping tabs on it. I'm happy that you guys won a came second in the hackathon. It shows, I think it goes to show the progress you guys have made from the last time I
Yeah.
had the conversation with Faith, and now it's incredible stuff. Are there other projects that you're working on currently on Starknet too?
Starknet.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm just focused on that one because I work on other things as well. So, but for now on Starknet, aside from the contributions, and then this is the major project
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your contributions on Holy Dust. How did you get involved? How has the experience been so far? And then maybe the thing, like for people, maybe probably for people that are trying to get in. And the beauty of our conversation and why I find this so appealing is because when people look at the time frame at which you came into Starknet and what you're doing, I think it's going to encourage a lot of people to say, okay, wow, this can be achieved in such period of time, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question will be, how have you found the experience on Holy Dust, and did you get into it? Generally, how has the journey on Holy Dust been? I mean, it's going to help viewers and audience to, give them that encouragement to come into this. Regardless of how long you've been in the ecosystem, you know that there's an opportunity for you in this place here.
Yeah. So for the Holy Dust, I think the introduction to Holy Dust came as a result of the same community I mentioned, because it
Yeah,
was more like, oh, Holy Dust is the next big thing. Everybody jump on Holy Dust. And that was the news we kept hearing. And we heard a lot of it from different people, from the ambassadors. Faith is also one of the ambassadors. So I
yeah,
remember we did yeah, we had this meetup also. That was around June, if I'm not mistaken, where we did a bit of, okay, Only Dust also, this is how to get on board there. This is how you start up with Only Dust. So I've been to I've had a lot of experiences, a lot of like one-on-one interactions with people about, oh, how do I contribute on Only Dust? Even around July, when we went for, there was a trip to Ghana that we went for, there was still an Only Dust meetup. So they will give you everything you need to just jump on. So it's not, the entry level is so easy because there's a lot of people to assist. There's a lot of testimonies about people that have done it. So you tend to see the walkthrough. And the platform is also easy to navigate. So it's not difficult to navigate. You just go there, you see what you need. You can search contributions based on your skill set, based on how what you can do, what you are so confident in doing, or where
yeah,
your best skill set. Yeah. So you just pick based on that. And you can also learn by also contributing to new and upcoming projects. And then from there, who
yeah.
knows? You might just, yeah. So I've contributed to a project like that. I just chatted up the guy within a day and then made the contribution, and that was just it. And
Enjoy.
that's just, so it's just that simple to just come in, contribute, get to know about, that will give you more understanding about how Starknet works in terms of technicalities and the non-technicalities. You can contribute in different ways, right? So there's a lot of options. Then you tend to even know what is trending on Starknet there, because you see the project and you're like, wow, this project is amazing, right?
Yeah,
You tend to even understand more. So there's a lot of opportunities there. There's a lot of exposure that you gain into the Starknet ecosystem. Like I said, for me, the other blockchains there, right? But I think
yeah,
Starknet has a bit of more dominance on the leaders, like almost
yeah.
every project on Starknet. So it's easy for you to see what is possible and what people are actually building. It even depends on what is your knowledge on Starknet itself and what is possible. So I think
Okay,
that's
that's
yeah.
great. I just like the excitement at which you talk about Starknet. For me, it just
Yeah.
shows like how good the ecosystem has been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So are there? I know you teach Rust, right?
Yes, yes, I do.
How would you compare Rust language to Cairo?
Well, Cairo is just the syntax of Rust. It's just the flavor of Rust, technically.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when it comes to Cairo, once you know Rust, most people will tell you that even if you do not know Rust, you can still jump on Cairo. Because
yeah,
Cairo has done a lot of, yeah, so the essence of Cairo is there's a lot of abstraction done for you. Yeah,
yeah,
so and that is the same with almost every other blockchain that's use a Rust flavored programming language. They build a lot of abstraction around it so that you don't need to rewrite the whole thing that is needed for you to run behind the scene. So Cairo is very interesting. It's a flavor of Rust. So understanding Rust, you just need to just jump into Cairo. All you need to understand is, okay, how does Starknet work? Once you understand the flow of Starknet, in terms of, okay, this is how I write my programs, this is how it is compiled, this is how it is deployed, I need this key, I need this and that, I need this. So once you can understand those flow, what you need to now know next is the syntax of the language.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not too difficult because yeah, there's a lot of tutorial documentation is there. Starknet also has one of the best documentations out there.
Yeah.
There's Starklinks you can use to start working out. So there's a lot of things that can help you get started with Cairo. And then those things explain the differences between Rust and Cairo for you. So you
Yeah.
cannot be confused. That's the truth. So when you are like, okay, I'm lost here, what do I do? Why is this syntax in Rust not working? You can just scroll through the documentation and I can be very sure that you will get what you need from there. You've
Yeah.
already somebody has seen it and said, this is how you do this in Rust, this is how you do it in Cairo. So the entry level to Cairo is just so easy. I think I use that word so very easy. Yeah. So having that knowledge of programming alone, no matter the language, is easy. So they've done a
Yeah.
lot of abstraction. So you don't need to bother rewriting or reinventing the wheel. Just understand what is needed, understand how blockchains work, understand how Cairo executes your program, even at the surface level, and then you're good to
Yeah.
go. Write
Yeah.
your
You know,
programs.
why I even threw to you this question? Because one of the one of the scary things for me, like so my history in programming generally started back in I think 2022. That was when I
Yeah,
wrote my first JavaScript, HTML, and
yeah,
then January the next year, that was 2023, I got into Web3 Bridge and then I started writing Solidity. So, and then 6 months later, barely 6 months later, I was thrown deep into Cairo. One of the scary things then is this. I just learned JavaScript. I've not even finished learning it. Like I'm in Solidity. I'm still
yeah,
trying
true.
to wrap my head around Solidity. And then here's Cairo. And I'm being told that, if you know about Rust. And I'm like, what do you mean by what is even Rust? So I'm being
Exactly.
told that if you want to write Cairo very well, you have to have knowledge of Rust. And I'm like, that was very discouraging. And it kind of like pushed me back a little bit from learning Cairo. But I had exactly like what you were pointing out, the community was very supportive. Like, now just try it. So we then I started writing. So now I write Cairo to a reasonable extent, good extent. And I don't even know. I think it was just a few months ago that I started, okay, let me see what Rust is all about. So
Yeah,
it's more like, I think it's a wake up call to people that think, okay, you must know Rust or you have to know something about Rust before it gets into Cairo. Me, for once, I didn't know anything about Rust before I got into Cairo. And why I asked that question is for someone that has experience on both ends. I mean, it makes a lot more sense and it's more encouraging you telling people you can get on Cairo without even knowing
Cairo.
anything about Russia. Yeah. So thank you for pointing that out too. Um, Looking at what you're doing, are there like I'm thinking the things that you're working on Starknet, but generally in blockchain, are there things that we or my audience should be looking out for when it comes to what projects are you working on? Not only on Starknet, because I think you're into different like you're a major in solidity, you're a major.
Yeah, actually. So I tend to like move around. I just like to explore the ecosystem generally. So
Yeah.
currently now my latest exploration has been on Solana recently.
Oh
Because I
wow.
think really, I'm just fascinated by the whole Rust flavored. I think I don't know why, but then I'm always interested in those programming languages that are similar to Rust and the blockchains that use them. So while like I said, the game you're working on, right? The game is one of the most interesting project I've been working on recently. Aside from that, I've been working on other projects related to like core wallet functionalities. Like recently, I've been working on like wallet functionality, trying to build one and integrating it into an app. So not using the conventional MetaMask, like something that is being built into the app. Because I feel like that is where most dApps are going nowadays. If you want
Yeah,
to
sure.
actually use it, because of user experience wise and other functionality.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
to have that, so it doesn't need to be like fully fledged like your MetaMask or your what they call it now, your any other kind of wallet, Starknet or for other blockchains. We just need to know that
Yeah.
okay, I have this functionality, and you tend to understand what's happening behind the hood, but you don't need to also like dive into it. So that's what I'm working on currently. Trying to like build a platform that's have wallet embedded, but then has more a bit of social fi in it. So it's more of like
Yeah.
social fi with a bit of DeFi in it.
Yeah, I think it was on your Twitter handle that I saw you posted about creating a wallet in 2 days, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was the demo. That was the demo starting from. Yes. Yeah, so I tried it out and then it worked. And I was like, oh, so this is actually possible. So because the crazy idea came, and then we're like, okay, let me try to do this. Let's see if it's going to
Yeah.
work. And yeah, it was fascinating enough. It worked. And when the demo came out, I just started polishing it and then adding the major functionality to it. So
Oh,
that's
great,
that's what I'm
great. What's the project, does it have a name? Because I also want to keep tabs on it and see how it comes up.
eh, there's no name yet. Honestly, there's no name yet. I think the other things I've been working on have been like with other clients, which like relate to like building games to like Web3
Oh, okay.
gaming. But personally, that's my own project and there's no name for it yet. Like it's still in the works. A lot of things are still coming up. So yes, I've not really like forced more on that one in terms of the naming yet. I just want to get it out. Once it's there, they'll think of that as
I,
well.
I can buy the naming rights if you don't want.
No, 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 no. Nah. So,
It's
but
good. It's good. Uh,
yeah,
I'm going to throw a bit of controversy into this conversation now. You've explored Solana, you've explored
yeah.
Solana, you've explored Starknet. What do you think
Okay.
about both? What do you think about both?
But I think generally, right, if you have to be honest, they are two different blockchains. They do different things.
Yeah.
I think for
Okay.
me, Starknet has a, like I always tell people, like Starknet knows what they are doing, right? There's no controversy. Starknet knows that I'm a layer two. I'm not trying to be a layer one blockchain.
Sure.
So there's no, so Starknet focuses on what they should do. For instance, you know that a layer one blockchain, Starknet is trying to scale Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
Ethereum handles the whole security aspect, leave it for them. But let's handle the scalability issues. And recently, you can see that Starknet has done an amazing job in that regard. Like when it comes to
Yeah.
TPS, you can see when they started with asynchronous processing of transactions. Like it's
Yeah.
just mind blowing. How do you do that? Normally, asynchronous programming itself is a problem. Then how do
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
blockchain? And it works. So that itself is a fascinating thing. So Starknet has already done, like I say, Starknet will always challenge the status quo. They make you think that this thing is possible. And then you dive deep and you're like, how is it possible? Like you just begin to wonder. That's what
Yeah.
Starknet gives to you. Like, it makes the complex thing seem simple. I just
Yeah.
have to
Sure.
contribute, just have to compliment the devs at Starknet, the devs at Starknet, the protocol guys, they are incredible guys, honestly. Like they
Sure.
do
Sure.
amazing. So Starknet does a good job to undo what they should do. Scalability is their focus of any layer two, and they do it perfectly. And they keep improving on it. The TPS are just increasing and beating every other layer twos out there that scales
Yeah.
Ethereum. And that's very impressive. Like you see it and you're like, wow, this is cool. Right. So that's for me, Starknet is a very different thing to Solana. So when it comes to Solana, I just started exploring it because I had something to do there. So but then based on what I've learned so far, Solana has a different scheme to Ethereum generally. Like the
Mm.
way it handles data, the way it handles accounts is different. I think that there's a bit of similarity to both Starknet and Solana because it's like I said, they have this Rust flavored language. And both
Yeah.
of them have this yes, similarity, how they tend to handle things. And but then you look at they still have their differences. They are not the same, honestly. That's just it.
Um,
Solana is the layer one, Starknet is the layer two. So they do different things but they do what they do well. I think I just have to give them that. That's
oh,
just
okay.
it.
Fair enough. Someone is playing
In
safe.
terms, in terms of biases, I can't really compare. This one is better because they are two different things. So that
Yeah,
Solana
I
is a
get
layer
it.
one, Starknet is a layer two, and then they scale different, they do different things, they have different focus, and then they do
Yeah.
it well. I think for me,
Yeah.
Starknet does it so well for me, like so very well. Like I have to compliment that.
Great, great. To be honest, it's been super fantastic having you on the show and
Thank you for
hearing
having
you talk about the things you talk and how you bring life to. I mean, you talk about Sharknado with so much life to it. How it makes
me.
me
Yeah,
even more optimistic about the ecosystem.
yeah,
But
yeah.
before we finally wrap up, what would you advise? And this is the question I ask almost everybody that comes to the show. Partly because I think like people reach out to different people in different ways. So I could have someone come and then they explain how do you come into the ecosystem. They say something, and then but people are able to relate to each entry point in different ways. What would you advise new people coming into the Starknet ecosystem, or people even trying to go into Web3 in general? What would be your advice to them to get in?
Okay, so I think for if you are trying to get into Web3 already has this wide range of like I always tell people, I think for every place I've gone to talk and even place where I tend to teach, I always tell them that to get into Web3, the first thing you need to do from experience, now this is like personal experience,
Yeah,
is to associate community, because the truth is you can do it. It's not as if you can't learn it, but then when you move with people, when you like interact with the community, the different communities that exist, they open your eye to things that you don't even think is possible. So I
Sure.
think the first thing to have is, of course, you're coming to Web3. Web3 is a large space, it's a large ecosystem, like very wide. So these guys will tell you the pros and cons of the space. That's the first thing you need to know. You need to understand, okay, I'm coming to this space. What is my focus? What's my target? Just like you trying to learn a programming language or trying to come into a new ecosystem like Starknet. Why am I building on Starknet? Should be the first question. So the same thing you ask, why am I coming to Web3? But an ecosystem will answer that for you. A community of Web3 developers, Web3 designers, Web3 project managers, a community of Web3, any Web3 community will definitely answer that question for you. Now, once that question has been answered, then they will help you streamline based on your interests. They will help you streamline what you want to do. So I think that's the beautiful essence of that community. They will help you do almost all the hard work and then set you on the good path. And then you have people you can also reach out to. There are different benefits to it. So the first thing is look for a place where you can join like-minded people, get to know what it is you are coming into, you are jumping into. Once you get that, and then you are comfortable with, okay, now I know what it's about. I know what I want to get into. Then you can now associate with your own niche of people within that space. So I think that's the first thing. So once you do that, it will be easy for you to grow because you already have a focus. You are not just trying to, parabolate and say, okay, what do I do? Do I jump on this or this? No, you have doing this and I know this is what I'm doing. So it helps you move faster, having that focus. It's not like you having a vision. You tend to just skyrocket because you know what it is you are chasing. So I think that's the advice I'll give everybody. First, learn what it is you want to do. Know what it is you want to jump into. You can't jump into something without knowing what it is. You will abuse it. So then, and I think for Web3 space generally, a community will help you do that. It will mold you to that aspect. Then once you are comfortable and you are strong on your own, then pursue your dreams. Then you move from there. Then you start connecting with people. You start doing your own drilling and driving. And before you know it, you start getting the opportunities in the space. I think that's personally, that's my experience. So that's what I'm sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for our audience that would like to follow you, there's so much in what you're saying. I'm very sure people would like to follow you, your progress, and then learn a lot more from you. How do they reach out to you?
Okay, so mostly on Twitter actually, Twitter or LinkedIn.
Okay.
So Twitter handle is I'm the blessed, AMD blessed, BLESSED.
No,
I can
okay.
just type
Okay.
this
No,
place.
no, well, I'll include this in the video
Okay, so
while
yeah,
the
so I'm the blessed, AMD BLESSED.
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
blessed on
Okay.
Twitter. Then on LinkedIn is Mayowa Obisheso.
Oh,
I'll just
okay.
search.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I add the link when releasing the video. But
Thank you very much.
it's been so fantastic having you on. It's I have to say one of the best I've ever had. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
coming.
much for having me. I appreciate the whole thing. Everything about Starknet Espresso has been wonderful, honestly. Remember, I was watching the first episode. It was very nice. Then you brought another person. Then I think you brought David Barreto, and then a lot of. I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, yeah. So and then I just recently saw a video you dropped about Kelvin. I was like, okay, oh my God, yes, it's really nice. Honestly, the episode is amazing. I know what you're doing there, and I would just like to say, yeah, it's wonderful and it's really helping a lot of people. So just keep it up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, everybody has been very supportive, to be honest. Everybody
Uh,
in the ecosystem has been very supportive. So yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayowa, for joining us today on Starknet Espresso and sharing your unique insights. It was such a joy and pleasure to have you on the show today. To our viewers, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bells so you don't miss out on exciting episodes like this in the future. We have more developer-studded episodes like this coming your way, where you get to learn more on Starknet and how to get involved with Starknet. Until then, keep watching, keep learning, keep building. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.